And this is all before I had hip pain. This is a March 5th workout. I actually warm up with some overhead squats, snatch balance I guess, or overhead squats and some front squats. And on this particular day I have planned for some working up to a heavy pause single for just a standard back squat, either mid bar or low bar I guess. The whole purpose with today's programming, or for this particular day, was just to find my balance. Because the sooner I can find my balance in the hole, the harder and faster I can push. Because the one thing I've always been learning, you got to find that midfoot. And I know that sounds pretty obvious and sometimes maybe it's too simple, but when you have the bar on your back, or you have the bar over your chest, or you're pulling the bar from the ground, finding that ideal position, it's almost automatic. It's going to find its way there, but it's hard to decide which direction you're going to push. I don't know if that makes any sense. I am most likely to get hurt when I add random shit that I normally don't do into a relatively intense training regime. In that case, during this period of time, I added running, and this is actually just a random day of overhead squats. I don't do this, but like adding extra front squats, just trying a bunch of different things out when I really shouldn't, knowing myself. And then these new variables that you add into your training end up causing you harm, or it's hard to tell which causes you harm, but I'm pretty sure what caused me harm was the running. So let's talk about today's topic. Today I'm going to talk about hard work. And you all know this. You guys all train. You guys watch fitness videos. You guys spend time learning. You spend time doing mobility work. And you spend time learning programs. You spend time trying to improve your mind in training and in fitness and nutrition, so that way you continue to get better. And I guess you can consider this all as hard work. But the part of hard work that I wanted to talk about today was all the mundane stuff. Because with anything that's challenging, like working out, powerlifting, getting stronger, getting better, there's always going to be things that you have to, I would say you have to do them, but there will be things that should be done, or that are part of a program, or that need to be included, that you avoid or you half-ass. And sure, there's going to be certain parts of the program that are essentially the 80-20 rule, where 20% of the activities give you 80% of the results, like squatting, like deadlifting, like benching, like having heavy strength days, having repetition days, having good nutrition, having good sleep, right? Those are the 80-20. But there's still that 20% that's really important. And that 20% that you need to work on, which take up still 80% of the time, unfortunately, take up a lot more time, is the stuff that ensures your future. And I'm talking about hard work and discovering your faults in motor pattern, your faults in mobility issues, your faults in just poor planning, poor eating, making bad decisions when you train, like all these things. Because a lot of the time, the smallest things, the bad decisions you make, the poor habits you make, lead you to other places that you would have never else got if you didn't get mildly injured, that you would have maybe, for whatever reason, just leads you in a different path. Although it takes you away from the main goal, it leads you in a place which will help you down the future, or might take you in a whole different path. And what I'm talking about right now is simply mobility, foam rolling, stretching, and corrective exercise. It's a relatively boring topic in my opinion, but it does take a huge chunk out of your time. Sure, you can spend a few minutes stretching and foam rolling, 10 to 15 minutes, but the truth is, if you really want to fix all your problems, it's going to take a hell of a lot more time than that. To foam roll all the muscles you need to work on, to spend time strengthening the arches of your feet, to cover up ankle mobility. If you see me squatting here, you can see how much my feet turn out. Now, people say that's okay and it's not that big of a deal, but if my feet were able to stay straighter, I would be able to get more leverage out of my quads, and I would have less knee pain, have better mechanical positioning of the knee. Now, if I wanted to turn my feet out, that's totally okay, but I'm saying is that I have to turn my feet out to hit depth. So it's actually, I have no choice, because if I push my knees in, I can't make depth, not without having my heel come off, because that's how rigid my ankles are. And a lot of what you have to learn, or what comes to hard work, is the smallest, I guess you can almost call it stupid or neglected things, like not necessarily this mobility, but spending time on a certain muscle that is essentially giving you problems, like my hip flexor, like my psoas, or maybe one weak side than the other. I know, like, one of the accessory movements that a lot of us don't do, or a lot of stuff I don't do, I'll speak for myself, is single leg work. This is such a big deal. Single leg work helps you stay symmetrical. It helps work stabilizers, not necessarily just in the knee, but in the glutes. They allow the gluteus medius to fire better. They allow the arch to stay strong, like doing something simple as lunges or doing single leg squats or single leg RDLs. These really do make a difference. And the same thing with benching, with doing dumbbell work. And then one of the biggest challenges is fitting the time in. Well, that's the whole idea. When you're training, you have a block of time that's meant for peaking for the meet, right? And you have other time outside of that just to build general strength and work on problems. And it seems to be that every time I get hurt, I'm usually just working on problems after the fact, when I should be working on problems before the fact. So kind of my whole point of this video is that I know that you have some sort of problem, some sort of nagging issue, some sort of restriction, whether it be one ankle, both ankles, one shoulder, another shoulder, and you haven't taken the time to do the stuff that you need to do. So I recommend, or I'm going to tell you that you need to go do it. Like something I know I haven't done in a really long time is foam roll my lats. Don't you think foam rolling my lats, or foam rolling your lats, would affect your overhead positioning, or even positioning of the barbell on your back? Think about that. Your lat is a huge muscle. If you improve the tissue, it will have better joint mechanics. There's just little things like these that actually make a big difference over time. Not right away, but you know what it is. It could be nutrition. You might be sloppy with your food. We all know this. This is simple, but there's one thing that you're doing, or there's one thing that you know deep down inside that you're not doing. One or two things that you need to spend more time on. I suggest that since you don't spend a whole lot of time on that one thing that you know you need to spend time on, double the time on there and see where that takes you. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next video.